These s'mores cookies are just like regular chocolate chip cookies but with toasted, melted marshmallow and crispy biscuit pieces. Incredibly irresistible straight out of the oven. Welcome to Recipes by Karina, where I share with you how to make classic and simply delicious recipes. Make sure to subscribe or follow my page for a new recipe each week. To get started, in a large mixing bowl, measure out a half a cup, 113 grams or 1 stick of room temperature butter. We're going to be creaming the butter and sugars together here, so it's really important your butter is at room temp. If you forget to get it out of the fridge, you can stick it in the microwave for 30 seconds or so and it'll be just about perfect. To the butter, measure out 2/3 of a cup or 130 grams of brown sugar. You'll notice I give the recipe amounts in metric and imperial, cups and grams, so no matter where you live in the world, you should find this recipe easy enough to follow. If you would like the full recipe for these s'mores cookies, a printable version will be on my website as well as the full measurements listed below. As well as brown sugar, we'll also need white sugar, 1/3 of a cup. Both sugars do different things to the cookies. The white sugar provides sweetness as well as a more crispy edge, whereas the brown sugar provides a more caramel flavour and creates that perfect gooey, chewy centre that is a must for homemade cookies. Using a stand mixer or a hand mixer, start to cream your butter and sugars together. You can do this by hand, but to get it really well creamed together, it will take you a bit of time. You want it light, creamy, and fluffy in texture. Let me know in the comments below what your favourite type of cookie is. I know chocolate chip will always be the classic, but if you were to choose another flavour, what would it be? I think I would choose these because it's so hard to go past toasted marshmallow. It's one of my favourite flavours, or maybe double chocolate. Too hard of a decision. To the creamed butter and sugar, we'll need 1 whole egg. Crack it into the bowl along with 1 teaspoon of a good quality vanilla essence or extract. This is my base chocolate chip cookie recipe, which I'll also have linked below if you haven't made them. I've tried so many different cookie recipes over the years and this one by far beats the others by taste, texture and also easiness. They are so simple to make. I'd recommend a double batch and the other half can go in the freezer, so homemade cookies are only ever 10 minutes away. Use the hand mixer or stand mixer again to combine the egg and vanilla. You should end up with a smooth, light mixture. Make sure to scrape the sides of the bowl to make sure everything is evenly combined before we start to add the dry ingredients. In the same bowl, measure out the dry ingredients. You can use a sieve here, but I never have any issues with lumps, so I don't think it's needed. We'll need 1 2/3 of a cup of all-purpose, plain or standard flour. This is all the same ingredient, just different names depending on where you live in the world. Measure out the flour and place it straight into the bowl with the rest of the ingredients. There's no real need to measure out the dry ingredients in a separate bowl. They mix in so easily with the wet, there's not really any chance of overmixing. We'll also need a teaspoon of baking soda and a pinch or about half a teaspoon of salt to round out the flavours. You can substitute baking powder for baking soda here if you would prefer. Baking soda will give you more of a spread out, chewy cookie, whereas baking powder will provide more of a cakey, thick cookie. Both are delicious, it just depends on what you prefer in your cookies. I would recommend baking soda as I think that's the perfect cookie, but I've tried so many delicious recipes using baking powder. Use a wooden spoon and start to combine the wet and dry ingredients together. The mixture will look really dry at first, but as you keep mixing, the flour should easily incorporate. Just before all of the flour is mixed in and it's still looking a little dry, we're going to add the remaining ingredients. For these s'mores cookies, we'll need chocolate, marshmallow and broken pieces of graham crackers or digestive biscuits. There's a couple tips I have here for the ingredients. Choose mini marshmallows that are designed for baking, as these will keep together a lot more than standard marshmallows in the oven. They will still probably spread, but you won't end up with a gooey, sugary mess. For the chocolate, definitely go with a chocolate block that you've chopped up. I don't usually ever use chocolate chips, as I've never found any that compare in quality to eating chocolate. A lot are made with oil instead of cocoa butter, so the texture is just all wrong. Reserve some of the chocolate and marshmallows if you would like to add these to the top of your cookies before they go in the oven. Using the wooden spoon, start to combine everything together. I'm using a 2 tablespoon cookie or ice cream scoop here to measure out my cookies. If you don't have one of these, I highly recommend them. It just makes it so much easier and quick, plus they are all even. I'll link the one I'm using below, but if you don't have one, you can just use a measuring spoon and roll out the cookies in your hands. Give them room to spread in the oven. I'll usually do 8 per cookie sheet. Bake the cookies in a 180 degrees Celsius or 350 degree Fahrenheit oven for about 9 to 11 minutes. Keep an eye on them, and when the edges are golden, it's time to remove them. Leave the cookies to cool on a baking sheet for 5 to 10 minutes before transferring to a wire rack to cool completely. I hope you have enjoyed this recipe and will give it a try. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on my next video.